Welcome back to Fuel Up Classic. Now, it's often said by probably many wise people out there that there's a fine line between bravery and stupidity. And I think trying to buy, run, and indeed maintain a cheap old Jaguar can, in the eyes of many, put you firmly in the stupid category. However, I have owned this car for a few years now. I purchased it for just £500 and we've been on quite the journey so far together. But I wanted to give you an update on the car because it's been a fair while since it last featured and quite a lot has happened in that time. And including that, within this video, I genuinely haven't totted up the numbers yet. So I'm going to disappear off for a minute, have a cup of tea, add up the numbers, and I will tell you what it's cost so far to run this cheap old Jag over the last few years. And really, we can answer the question of whether it's all been worth it or not. I've been inside, I've made a cup of tea, and while the kettle was boiling, I've gone through some of the most recent work that this car has had, whilst I've been living with it, enjoying it on a daily basis. And I am somewhat surprised at just how much work we've done on this car. When I first featured it on the channel, I think it was very fair to say that it was a mechanically very strong car, but cosmetically it was very challenged. So the first stage of bringing this car up to a standard was to address those cosmetic issues. So within those first couple of videos I showed you, we put two new front wings on this car because both were badly dented and scratched, a new front bumper. If you may remember as well, it had no front grille on it when it arrived because the bonnet cable had snapped and you couldn't open the car without putting your hand inside the grille and feeling around to pull the catch open. So it had a new bonnet cable. It also had a new driver's window regulator, another common X350 failure point. So all of these things were DIY done by me. They were labour heavy, to be perfectly honest. And some of the pictures that I'll show you now of when the car was stripped down, I had thought at that point, what have I done? Is this car ever going to go back together? But it did. And since then, we basically have used the car every single day. It's my mum's everyday transport. She absolutely loves this car, and it's proven to be reliable, comfortable, luxurious, and actually it gets plenty of compliments wherever it goes. A lot of people mention the number plate. It's just a nice little add-on to the car, suits it really well. It's not worth a great deal of money, but it just suits it. And that was the first stage of things. And at that point, when I did the numbers, we were about £1,100 into ownership. Still incredibly cheap. But in recent weeks, when I'd been driving the car on longer journeys, it had lost that lovely touch of refinement that a Jaguar should have. The ride was no longer velvety smooth. It was wandering around quite a lot. There was a strange grumble coming from one of the front wheels at motorway speeds. It just felt like an unhappy car that was really quite tired and well past its best. And let me just remind you that this car now is 22 years old. It's done 170,000 miles. So it's done a lot of work over the years. But I wanted to keep the car going, so we got it into a specialist who went through the car and, as we suspected, kind of flagged up that the rear suspension, all the bushes and the arms were well past their best, hence that loss of that lovely magic carpet ride that a Jag should have. So we went for it. We basically had the entire rear suspension rebuilt, new upper and lower arms, new bushes throughout. Also, whilst we were there on the front end, we had a new set of track rod ends, full wheel alignment then done afterwards, which is something that gets so easily forgotten on an old car, but that has made a huge difference to how the car drives. I'm really pleased to say that lovely luxury, velvety smooth ride is back with this car. It's driving better than ever. And then, of course, it was a front wheel bearing that had to be replaced, a full service as well, a couple of other little perishable items that were noted along the way. Prevention is better than cure, so we had those replaced as well. But as I'm probably alluding to, and you won't be too surprised, the bill was of course a hefty one. And in total, the most recent spend on this car just last week was a touch under £1,600 in total, or if I put it another way, about 3 times the price of what I purchased the car for in the first place. Nonetheless, we're still in this car now for about £2,600 in total. And I think you will agree with me at home, that is still incredibly cheap luxury motoring. It's never left me or a family member stranded at the side of the road. In fact, it's never let us down, full stop. It's been a great car. It's used all throughout the year. As I'm sure you can see, it's filthy dirty, but I still think luxury can be done for a bargain price, as long as you do it right and you're not afraid occasionally to get your hands dirty. But let's take it out for a drive, because all of those things that have been done have made such a difference. So I use this car daily, and the last few weeks I've been averaging about 300 miles a week in it. And since having all that work done with the suspension and having the alignment done, the driving experience really is night and day difference. It's so much better than it was. But the other general running costs of this car have been pretty palatable as well. Road tax is reasonable-ish for a car of this size, but the fuel consumption as well, this is only the baby of the range, the 3-litre V6 model, but I find it's got adequate performance and it's a really relaxed cruiser, and I'm averaging about 28 miles to the gallon and about 400 miles between fill-ups. So for longer journeys, it's not really a hugely expensive car to take, and it can handle them with ease. And I keep coming back to this idea of going, well, what on earth would I replace this car with? It owes me there or thereabouts £2,500 now, and I can't think of anything that I would swap it for or sell it for. And the truth is, I could probably sell this car and get every penny of my money back now, but that would leave me in a bit of a predicament, because if I went out and leased a brand new car, well, I'd never own it and it would cost me a fortune every month. If I went out and bought something much newer, much more modern, well, then I'd watch the depreciation happen over months, years, that would by far be more expensive than running this car on a daily basis. So for me, all of this work has been well worth it. I still think it's cheap motoring. I think you just have to sometimes adjust your mindset. There's plenty of people out there that will happily pay £300–400 a month at least to lease a brand new car and never own it, and I fully accept that that works for a lot of people, but that doesn't sit well with me. I'd much rather save an old classic, enjoy what is probably one of the last proper looking Jaguars, and still come out the right side of it financially. So there we have it. I think it's all been worth it. This is the latest installment in running a cheap old Jaguar. Now, I wish things were quite so easy with my other older XJ6 Series 3. In the next few weeks, that car is off to have quite a lot of work, and I fully suspect that that one is going to cost quite a lot of money. But for now, this £500 Jaguar XJ, which is now probably, what, a £2,500 Jaguar XJ, we're going to use it, enjoy it, improve it where we can, and just enjoy cheap luxury motoring. I told you it could happen, and I think with one of these, it can.